even more than that.
What was that?
Tell them for a bit of a revival, if you will. They've been looking for a bit of a...
So I am not hearing anything that any producer is trying to talk to me. But Luca appears that he can.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on 13 News Now Plus for our extended special Election Day coverage. All polls across Virginia are now closed, but we're here with you tonight as the results start to roll in. I'm Janet Roach.
And I'm Dana Smith. The nation's eyes are on Virginia right now and what will be a historic outcome as Virginia will welcome its first ever woman governor. At the top of the ticket, Virginians had the chance to vote for Democratic candidate Abigail Spanberger or current Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. And tonight we continue our team coverage across Virginia as voters will also decide contests for Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General, along with all 100 seats in the House of Delegates, including several races across Hampton Roads. And we do have something in right now that the AP is calling Spanberger as the winner of the gubernatorial race. This is our early results in. They are calling Spanberger for Virginia.
All right, now, before we get to our reporters out in the field, let's have a quick check on some of the other results.
That's right. Connor Real joins us now. Connor, you've been keeping an eye on all of the races. Walk us through what you're seeing on the map so far.
Dana, you know patience has never been my virtue. I'm trying to get into it, especially because you guys just announced that the Associated Press has called this race for Abigail Spanberger. So let's dig into our map a little bit and figure out maybe how that happened. We're going to start in Hampton Roads. You can see the blue and red dots. The size of those dots and the color will tell you how big of an advantage and for which party. Of course, the red Republican and the blue Democrat. So let's go straight away to Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach is interesting to me because Virginia Beach has a 51% margin towards Abigail Spanberger, now up to 51.1. You can see the live vote counter. They got 38% of votes counted here. Now, this is the biggest city in the Hampton Roads area. It's going 51% Spanberger. This is especially interesting because in 2021, Virginia Beach went Glenn Youngkin by a small margin, just over 50% in 2021, but it went towards Glenn Youngkin. So with Virginia Beach going Spanberger by a small margin, that maybe is a good symbol of why we are getting the Associated Press calling this race for Spanberger. Now let's explore elsewhere, okay? Now if we look at Norfolk here, Norfolk, a stronghold for Democratic candidates most of the time, and that remains true here in 2025. If you look, Abigail Spanberger, 78% of the vote, with 42% of those votes having come in. Now, if we go up towards the peninsula, let's explore Newport News. Now, just 5% of votes counted in Newport News, so that's a very small number compared to other cities that we're seeing, but a margin for Spanberger, 55.3%. Now, if we look over to Chesapeake, 5%, another small margin, but it is Winsome Earl Sears, just about 54%. Now, Chesapeake did also go towards Glenn Youngkin in 2021 by a margin that was just over 50%. Now, if you want to get sort of a view of how Virginia breaks down, if you look in this area, you're going to see a lot more red, whereas up by D.C. and maybe down here in Hampton Roads, you'll see more blue. In that Richmond area, the metropolis, the capital, capital. That's going to go more blue. But take a look at Roanoke here. Now, if you look at Roanoke as a county, Winsome Earl Sears, nearly 60%. But if we can be precise enough to go in on Roanoke City, you actually end up Spanberger, 69.5%, showing that dichotomy between the county and the city. And if you look just over to the left of that, that's Montgomery County. Now, that's in a rural-dominated area that has gone almost entirely Sears. If you look at all the red dots in this sort of western peninsula of Virginia here, but Montgomery County is Spanberger by a small margin. Well, what's in Montgomery County? Well, Virginia Tech University is in Montgomery County. So you have maybe a little bit more of a Democratic lean in that area, with Blacksburg being in Montgomery County. Now let's go back over to Hampton Roads here, and let's just explore up in this sort of Williamsburg region. If you look at Gloucester here, that's a stronghold for Winsome Earl Sears. That's at 70% for Sears, with 57% of votes being counted. What about over on the eastern shore? Northampton County, Abigail Spanberger, 54%, and that's with 93% of votes counted. Northampton County went to Glenn Youngkin in 2021 by a small margin, just over 50% towards Glenn Youngkin. You see right now 93%, and it's Abigail Spanberger at nearly 55%. So a little bit of a breakdown here of how we've ended up so far with this race being called for Abigail Spanberger. Back to you guys for more on all the races here on Election Day.
All right, thanks, Connor. Didn't mean to cut you off at the top there. Appreciate that. So as he mentioned, it's a race that's gaining attention across the Commonwealth and the country, Virginia's gubernatorial election. Again, the AP calling the race for Democrat Abigail Spanberger over Republican Winsome Earl Sears.
All right, Alex Littlehales is live in Richmond at Spanberger's election night event. So, Alex, what is the energy like there?
Well, I would suspect that even the most optimistic and hopeful of Abigail Spanberger supporters did not imagine that not only two major network outlets would call, but the Associated Press as well would call the race for Abigail Spanberger essentially within an hour after polls had closed. And so you could probably hear just the raucous crowd of hundreds of people here in downtown Richmond behind me. But what they are responding to are not only the incremental gains that they have seen on the television screen in front of them tonight, but they are excited and ecstatic because of the fact that in front of their eyes, two networks, and I don't even believe that they've even used the AP's calling of this, but multiple sources now confirming and predicting that Abigail Spanberger will be the next, the first female governor of the state of Virginia in the entire history of this Commonwealth. And so what they are reacting to also is political analysis that we have seen, again, at the official watch party for Abigail Spanberger in downtown Richmond tonight, hundreds at the convention center in Richmond. Political analysis showing that Spanberger has outperformed the Democratic margins from a vote standpoint, outperforming that of Terry McAuliffe in 2021, and actually outperforming the margins in several localities of that of Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. So we have known for weeks and really months that the polls by independent forecasters from those polls backed by major universities here in Virginia and even outside of Virginia have supported that Spanberger has maintained close to a double-digit margin of victory for this gubernatorial election over Winsome Sears, the current and sitting Republican lieutenant governor of Virginia. And so, again, the crowd is excited here, and I can also tell you that we have spoken to Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan, who represents the Richmond area and the rural parts of Hampton Roads. We asked her if she thought the federal government shutdown played a big part in Spanberger's potential performance tonight, and she said, frankly, she thinks it does. She is a sitting congresswoman, and she thinks that the Trump administration's policies, including federal workforce cuts, have negatively impacted Virginia, and that is why many are voting for Spanberger, frankly, as a change from the current administration. We also talked to House Speaker Don Scott, who reiterated the idea that essentially many people are frustrated with the promises of the current Trump administration, and that he believed that Democratic voters saw in Abigail Spanberger someone that could shift the narrative away from the first 11 months that we have seen in this current administration. But again, just reiterating the fact that basically an hour has passed since polls have closed in Virginia, and there are now hundreds, thousands of people here at the Richmond Convention Center applauding, cheering the outcome that they see on their television screen tonight. It's also worth noting that it has been noted that the other statewide offices for Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General have not been called yet, and those vote margins seem to be a bit different and less than what Abigail Spanberger is polling at right now in terms of the vote total. But there are still cheers for those respective races as well as they cut in and out of television broadcasting. And so it is quite loud in here and frankly difficult to hear some of our own programming, but I can leave you with, at the moment now, that the crowd is excited, cheering, and frankly ecstatic to get multiple sources of confirmation that Abigail Spanberger is the next governor of Virginia. So still waiting to see who will be not only first on that stage behind me, but when Spanberger herself will appear before this crowd. So reporting live from Richmond, I'm Alex Littlehales for 13 News Now.
All right, Alex, thank you so much. We're going to check back in with you a little bit later. I can imagine that Spanberger will be coming out at some time shortly, probably to say something to the crowd. But yeah, definitely a lot of energy there, as she has already been called the winner of the gubernatorial race. All right, we are also live at Winsome Earl Sears election night event. This is in Leesburg, Virginia, and that's where we find our Derek Lytle.
Yeah, I imagine a different mood there. So, Derek, as we get these early election results in, how is the Republican campaign feeling tonight so far with this race being called for Spanberger?
Hey guys, well, if you ignore the happy music behind me, it's a much more tame atmosphere than we've been used to on the campaign trail for Winsome Earl Sears. You know, the crowd was allowed in at 6:30, but it's been really tame, just about 50 to 100 people surrounding different tables, but nothing like the energy we've seen in her campaign rallies. Now, that's a lot different than I'm sure it is over there for Alex, but you know, as we move through the night, something that I wanted to focus on throughout the day, you know, we heard Connor talking about it, is the importance of the Hampton Roads show out and turnout for the election. And it's something that Winsome Earl Sears desperately needed to be able to even have a shot to win the election, is to have the far less turnout of Democrats in the Hampton Roads area. And it's something she needed, and it's not really something we've seen tonight. You know, Winsome Earl Sears herself has yet to come out and speak here, but we will be here and we'll bring you some more about how things are going over here on our end, guys.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Derek. And well, throughout the night, you can text the word results to the number that you see right there on the screen. That's 757-628-6200. And we will send you a message, including a trusted link to our website, where we will be tracking the results for the 2025 November general election. And remember to text, don't call. All right, we have a lot more races to check on, including several House seats, all 100 up for grabs. We're going to check on some of those coming up in just a moment.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You want to flip that light on for them? They're checking our stuff.
All right, welcome back. It's Your Voice, Your Vote. And in Virginia Beach, voters in the 97th House District are deciding between Republican Tim Anderson and Democratic incumbent Michael Fagans.
So Madison Schlegel is live in Virginia Beach with the latest on that race. Madison, how are things?
Yeah, Dana, Janet, right now we're at the Crown Plaza here in Town Center in Virginia Beach, and we're at the election watch party for Delegate Fagans. And as you can see behind us, we've got a lively crowd here. We just had cheerings. Like, people are very happy here about the projected winnings of Abigail Spanberger for governor here, and the spirits seem to be pretty high here. But we got the chance to speak with both people running for the 97th race right now. We spoke to Tim Anderson earlier, and we spoke to Delegate Fagans as well. But let's get talking about each of those campaigns. We're going to talk about the Anderson campaign first. First, we saw him earlier in Virginia Beach today at the Red Church, and that's a former Delegate Tim Anderson. He was elected back in 2022 to serve as the 83rd district, but he resigned to run for state senate. That run ended up being unsuccessful for Anderson, but like we said, he was speaking with voters outside of Red Church in Virginia Beach today. Right now, after speaking to those voters, he said that he's energized by the amount of people that he's been talking to today, that he was able to speak to before they went in to cast their ballot. But one of the biggest issues that Anderson says that he's fighting for right now is the car property tax here in Virginia. He says that he's looking to get that tax eliminated for Virginians. And when it comes to talking to voters, Anderson says that voters have supported the elimination of that tax. Get us a listen.
Receptive to my message, and hopefully we'll get enough votes to start working on getting that done next year.
And as we told you, we are here at Delegate Fagans' campaign event right now, and election watch party here. And we got the chance to catch up with him a little bit while he was still out campaigning earlier today. Take a look here. We've got some video. He was out at the Kempsville Library, and he tells 13 News Now that he was making stops at polling sites this morning as early as 6 a.m. Now, Delegate Fagans is a retired Air Force veteran who's held this seat since 2023 when he beat out incumbent Karen Greenhall. Now, during his time in office, he says that he's passed 10 pieces of legislation surrounding issues like veterans protections, whether that be the environment as well. But this time around, Fagans says that he's speaking to voters about what they need. And he says right now that Virginians here are fighting for affordability.
Affordability, which has been one of the main driving issues, the economy, also in terms of threats of democracy. That's been some of the driving messages that we talked with voters.
And as those results do roll in and trickle in, we're going to be here keeping an eye on both heartbeats of those campaigns right now. And in the next hour, we're going to hear from both of those candidates again about what they think is the most important thing for voters right now, and why and where they think that their votes are counting the most right now. But this is going to be one race to watch as we watch those ballots trickle in this evening. And we'll be sure to catch you up on that race in the 97th district here in Virginia Beach. Live in Virginia Beach, Madison Schlegel, 13 News Now.
All right, thanks so much, Madison. And now to Hampton, where voters in the 86th House District are deciding between Republican A.C. Cordoza and Democrat Virgil Thornton.
Our Jordy Clark is live in Hampton with the very latest on this race. Jordy.
Good evening. So yes, I'm actually here at Virgil Thornton's watch party, and as you can see, got a lot going on here. A lot of voters we've been talking to all day long, and we actually just recently had an interview with Thornton at an earlier voting place, and he really honed in on the fact that he is very community driven, and I think that's what we're seeing a lot throughout these races is how much we want community involved. We talk about all those national issues happening, and it's affecting all the families here when it comes to Hampton and throughout the Commonwealth. And Virgil said when it comes to the 86th district, that is what his biggest concern has been, is how his constituents would be affected by a lot of these issues. And so that's kind of what he's been really focused on, is his community-driven aspect to his campaign. And while the campaign has had its ups and downs when it comes to his opponent and those issues that were lying there that we've been covering throughout the year, again, his focus has strictly been on trying to bring those families together, bring more voters out, especially bringing the younger crowd about as well. And that's kind of been a common theme that we've been seeing throughout the day, is seeing that younger generation kind of be involved in a lot of these politics. And Virgil, who actually has daughters as well, and we've spoken about them before, about getting them involved in civic duties. And that's also something that he hopes to accomplish when it comes to his his campaign, is helping when it comes to education. I think that has been a big point as well, even when we talk to other opponents too, is funding our schools and giving them the opportunities to, again, continue to provide civic engagement for those students, so that they are also learning more and more about the issues that affect them and the issues that are directly involved with them. And so that's definitely something Virgil has been very strong about as well. But again, we've just been here throughout the day talking to both candidates just about what they want when it comes to this campaign. And now this is a closely watched campaign as well. Definitely very, very tight race, of course. And that's kind of been a common theme throughout the Commonwealth through a lot of these opponents, is just seeing that when it comes to which side of the aisle they're leaning on, they're more focused on how they can be personally affected. And I think that's what's truly important, is seeing all the people here, that they're here to support not only the candidate, but what they want to be accomplished. And that comes to economics, that comes to education. They are focused on it so much. And so this election definitely holds pretty strong results here, because, again, what happens here locally affects us nationally. I think that's also been a very high point as well throughout this election. But we will continue to keep you all updated on 13 News Now, as well as this race, as those results continue to trickle in. But both candidates have certainly been throughout the Hampton Roads, just advocating for not only themselves, but of course for the constituents and the people that they're serving on either side of the aisle. So definitely interested just to see how this race turns out, because again, it will be a tight one. It is a very closely watched one, as all of these are. But certainly we'll continue to talk to both candidates. And again, I spoke to Thornton earlier, and he's certainly just excited just to see the turnout and just to see whether or not you voted for him. Just seeing people getting out to the polls, I think, is always a strong point just to make note of. So again, we'll just keep you guys updated throughout the day, and or throughout the night, excuse me, just seeing again how this all turns out. But until then, I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio while we're here dealing again with this watch party here in Hampton.
All right, thank you so much, Jordy. We appreciate that update, and taking a look at that race right now. Virgil Thornton at 42.84%. and A.C. Cardoza 56.86%. That's looking at the Virginia Board of Elections website, checking the results there. All right, coming up, we're going to sit down with a political analyst and break down what we know so far, the Spanberger win, and what else we might see tonight.
The way it came back and Janet was like this, I was like, what is she doing? Welcome back. It's Your Voice, Your Vote. Joining us now is Virginia Wesleyan University Chair of Political Science, Dr. Leslie Coggle, giving us some more insight on this election. We always appreciate you coming here and really putting things into perspective for us. So the big story of the night so far, Abigail Spanberger, we are calling this election for her right now over Winsome Earl Sears. You mentioned earlier the polls were showing us that we should expect this.
Yeah, so the polls virtually all showed Spanberger winning. I think the real question for a lot of people was by how much, and she seems to have a pretty wide margin now.
Do you think that maybe it was her focus on these issues of cost of living versus Earl Sears' campaign focusing on transgender issues that did it? What do you think really tipped the edge?
I think that was definitely part of it, and you have to view at least part of Spanberger's vote as an anti-kind of President Trump vote. But I also think Sears ran kind of a messy campaign. They had issues with staffing, they had issues with messaging, and Spanberger ran pretty like an airtight kind of textbook political campaign. She was very on message and very disciplined. So I think part of the story here is just candidate quality.
Absolutely. You mentioned that presidential election. So President Donald Trump, he has not had a very favorable rating as of late. Do you think this government shutdown and concerns over the tariffs maybe led into these local votes?
I'm certain that's part of it, particularly in places like Virginia, when so many people's jobs and so much of the economy is tied to government function. And I think it's also noteworthy that Virginia has a slightly higher population in terms of education and kind of political interest, in part because of our proximity to Washington, D.C. So I think Virginia voters were definitely aware going into this election, this campaign, about all of these national issues that were sitting out.
To see this race being called so quickly, what does that say? I mean, the polls closed at 7 and right before 8 as we were coming on air, this race was being called.
Yeah, I think that just really tells you what a margin Spanberger is going to have tonight, right? You don't call races like this if they're going to be a nail-biter or, you know, there are a lot of votes outstanding and you anticipate those votes to be pretty evenly split, or from places in which the member of the opposite party is likely to pull in kind of heavy numbers. So I think the fact that Spanberger pulled this out so early, when the rest of her ticket is, you know, still outstanding, just tells you the strength with which she ran in Virginia.
Well, let's get into the rest of the ticket. You know, we hear about down ballot voting. Do you think that that's going to play a role here? Can it go either way, especially in the race for Attorney General, for example?
I mean, it can. And certainly you've seen in the past that Virginia has had gubernatorial candidates who win with a comfortable margin and people down ticket who kind of eke it out. And it looks like that's what we're going to see in the AG race. If Jay Jones wins, it does not look like he's going to be winning from a comfortable margin.
Right. I mean, he had some strong controversy leading into this. Those leaked text messages, the hypothetical situation of shooting a fellow lawmaker. Do you think that Spanberger's win can help him make up for that?
I think if he does win, a lot of it is going to be tied to Abigail Spanberger's strength as a candidate and kind of her coattails pulling him up here. And if you look at the vote returns, the number of people who voted for Abigail Spanberger but either didn't vote at all for the AG or voted for somebody else is pretty substantial.
Right.
You know, so I think that, you know, it's not a good indicator if you're Jay Jones.
Right. And as you said, that speaks to the fact that we have these early results for Spanberger, not so much for the Jones campaign.
Yeah.
Lieutenant governor race, Ghazala Hashmi, this was one of the few races where we had no debate between her and John Reed. Do you think that played a role for voters?
You know, I think that's possible that it plays a role for voters, particularly in getting to know that particular candidate. John Reed is familiar with a lot of people in Virginia politics who have been kind of following, particularly in the Richmond area. So you would think you'd kind of want to get your name out there and get a little bit of name recognition when people go to the polls. But also, if you anticipate the gubernatorial candidate being pretty strong, then maybe the assumption is just sit back and avoid controversy and hope, you know, you kind of ride up in the coattails here.
Yeah, absolutely. Spanberger will just kind of pull them across is maybe the hope there. Yeah. As you know, we have 100 House of Delegates seats up for grabs. Do you think that Spanberger's win could also help get some Democrats back into the House?
I think you're virtually certain to see that Spanberger running as strongly as she did is going to help some of the Democrats in tight races or races that we thought would be tight down ballot. Yeah. So this is a really good sign for Democrats in the House of Delegates.
For Republicans, what should they take away from this? You know, especially with Governor Glenn Youngkin, who is well-liked. People like Youngkin. Maybe they were hoping that as his lieutenant governor, Winsome Earl Sears would have a stronger showing. What do you make of the fact that Spanberger is blowing this out of the water?
You know, I think one of the things that you could say, you can critique a lot about Sears's campaign and her candidacy and maybe the ways in which she could have been a stronger candidate. But the Republican Party did not put a lot of elbow grease into helping Winsome Sears in this election. President Trump didn't endorse her. If you look at the money coming into this campaign in the last 3 weeks, it has gone to Jason Miyares. It has not gone to the top of the ticket. President Trump's, very close advisors have said some really nasty things publicly about Sears. So to the extent that Republicans are trying to figure out what went wrong, I mean, part of it is that they just wrote off this race. It looks like they wrote off this top of the ticket race before it even started.
Yeah, it seems like Jason Miyares may be the strongest candidate on the Republican side. And that's really what we got to keep an eye on with this.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Coggle, for your insight on this. When we come back after a short break, we'll take another look at the latest count of your votes. Stay with us.
One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Awesome. Do you know our hit time by chance?
All right, thank you for sticking with us tonight. And we have some breaking news. Another race has been called by the AP. Democratic State Senator Ghazala Hashmi wins the Virginia Lieutenant Governor's race over Republican John Reed. This just coming over on the AP. So now, as of right now, two races called, two big ones. Abigail Spanberger in the governor's race. She has been declared the winner, and now Ghazala Hashmi has been declared the lieutenant governor in that race over John Reed.
Let's get straight to some of these results coming in. So Connor is standing by. Connor, walk us through what you're seeing on the map as we get these early results in for Spanberger and Hashmi.
So we are going to look at Ghazala Hashmi's map here. We're going to look at the lieutenant governor race. We have two races called here. We just made 8:30. I mean, relatively early in the night. Now, if you look, there is a difference here. If you remember, Spanberger was winning Virginia Beach when we checked in at the 8 o'clock hour, but Hashmi, not so much. Hashmi's still losing Virginia Beach. So that is a city that went Youngkin in 2021, going John Reed with 46% of votes counted. But then let's check this out. Northampton County. Northampton voted for Governor Glenn Youngkin in 2021. Ghazala Hashmi, 52.2% of the vote in Northampton, and there are 92% of votes counted here. How about this right here? Let's check in on James City County. James City County went for Glenn Youngkin in 2021. They were red in 2021, but Ghazala Hashmi, 51.5% in James City County. And now we're going to toss to Governor Abigail Spanberger at the podium.
All right, let's go straight out there. Abigail Spanberger taking the podium.
you. Thank you. Thank you all so much. My fellow Virginians, tonight we sent a message. We sent a message to every corner of the Commonwealth. A message to our neighbors and our fellow Americans across the country. We sent a message to the whole world that in 2025, Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship. We chose our Commonwealth over chaos. You all chose leadership that will focus relentlessly on what matters most: lowering costs, keeping our communities safe, and strengthening our economy for every Virginian. Leadership that will focus on problem solving, not stoking division. We chose leadership that will always put Virginia first. And Virginia, I cannot wait to get to work for you. Tonight we turned a page. We turned that page by listening to our neighbors, focusing on practical results, laying out a clear agenda, and leading with decency and determination. To everyone who helped us achieve this win, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I thank you for the trust that you have placed in me, and it is the honor of my lifetime to be elected the 75th governor I would like to thank my opponent for a hard-fought race. The Lieutenant Governor's story, her military service, and her years of service here in Virginia deserve our respect and our gratitude, and I ask that you join me in wishing her and her family well. I also know that those who were supporting my opponent are disappointed today. And to those Virginians who did not vote for me, I want you to know that my goal and my intent is to serve all Virginians. And that means that I will listen to you, I will work for you and with you. That is the approach that I've taken throughout my entire career. I have worked with anyone and everyone, regardless of political party, to deliver results for the people that I serve. And that's because I believe in this idea that there is so much more that unites us as Virginians and as Americans than divides us. And I know in my heart that we can unite for Virginia's future, and we can set an example for the rest of the nation. Our founders understood this from the very beginning. They didn't choose to call Virginia a commonwealth by accident. They chose it to signify that our government would be based on the power of the people united for a common good. Not for a political party, not for a president, not for a monarch, but for a common good, together. And tonight, Virginia proved that that tradition is alive and well. We are still a commonwealth in every sense of the word. We are built on the things we share, not the things that pull us apart. And I am proud that our campaign earned votes from Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everyone in between. That's the Virginia I know, that's the Virginia I love, and that's the Virginia I will have the honor of serving as your next governor. I want to thank so many people for the support that they have given to our campaign. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your support. To our tireless volunteers, to those who believed in me, thank you. Thank you for devoting your time, your energy, and your conviction to this campaign. Thank you for braving the weather, the heat, and then the cold, and then the rain, and then the sun. It's Virginia after all. Thank you. Thank you for talking to your neighbors about the importance of this race. Thank you for recognizing that when we went person to person engaging, that we could bring people not just into supporting our campaign, but into engaging in our democracy. Thank you. We won this race because of you. To our campaign team, you're the best in the country. Every single member of our team, every single one of you, you work tirelessly for the change, the progress, the policies, the connection, and the respect that you want to see in our communities. Thank you for working so hard. Thank you for giving people hope. Thank you for knocking on doors in the sweltering heat. Thank you for showing kindness. Thank you for showing up in every corner of Virginia. Thank you for diving deep on policy. Thank you for capturing moments and the essence of our campaign. Thank you for reaching voters everywhere. And thank you for believing that Virginia could and would send a hopeful and joyful message tonight. Thank you for giving everything to this campaign and then some. And thank you to my family. To my husband, Adam. My partner in everything. I love you with my whole heart. I am grateful for you. And it is very strange to declare my love for you in front of millions of people. But every adventure we have ever been on has been worth it because you have been by my side I love you. I'm grateful for you. And I cannot wait to see what the next couple of years bring. To my daughters, Claire, Charlotte, and Catherine, you inspire me and motivate me every single day. Everything I do to build a better future for you and for all of Virginia's children, and I am so proud of you every single day. I am lucky to be your mother. And Catherine, you did not clean your room today as you promised me. She's working on it. If I was working on it, we wouldn't have won this election, okay? To my sisters, my dearest and earliest friends, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. To my friends who have traveled from around the world to be here with me today, thank you. Thank you for making me who I am, and thank you for always believing in me. And to my parents, I love you. Thank you for leading by example every day. And I know that today is a day that you all could have never imagined. But you taught me the importance of service to others and relentless hard work. And Mama, when I think about your life, from the time spent in foster care to putting yourself through nursing school and the challenges along the way, you made clear to us that to whom much is given, much is expected. And you have given me so much, born of your own struggles and your own challenges, and I know much is expected. And Dad, thank you for your example of service and tireless devotion to family and country. Nothing has made me prouder than to follow in your footsteps, so many steps along the way. I love you. I've talked a lot throughout this campaign about the importance of service and how it's shaped my life and my approach to public office, and that all came from my parents. But this commitment to service, it is not unique to my family. It's ingrained in so many of Virginia's families. It is part of Virginia's story. Here in Virginia, this is where American democracy was born and where we are still working to perfect it today, where James Madison built the framework for our Constitution to protect us from tyranny, where Washington and Jefferson fought to establish a government of, by, and for the people. It is also the place where Barbara Johns, a 16-year-old student from Farmville, led a walkout of students that became part of the Brown versus the Board of Education case to integrate public schools. Barbara Johns never gave up, and she showed us that no matter your age, you can be part of the change and the progress that you want to see here in Virginia and across the nation. We are a nation founded on ideas, but we are a country where it is up to us, the citizens, who must put those ideas into action. It is us, the citizens, who work to make the change and progress and build upon the foundations laid out over so many years. And Virginia, now it is our time to lead. Tonight, it's hard not to reflect on the nearly 2-year journey that we've taken together on this campaign. And just a few minutes ago, Adam said to our daughters, "Your mom's going to be the governor of Virginia." And I can guarantee those words have never been spoken in Virginia ever before. It's a big deal that the girls and the young women I have met along the campaign trail now know with certainty that they can achieve anything. It's a big deal to the women older than I am who forged the path in dreams, hard work, and in a belief that change and progress would be possible so that so many of us could follow in their footsteps in any career, in any role, in any challenge. The history Virginia is making tonight, it is yours. And I thank those who have come before me, and Mary Sue Terry in particular. She was the first woman elected statewide in Virginia. And because of her and the continued work of so many, there will be many more women to come for generations to come. So now that the campaign is over, the real work begins, because this was never about just winning an election. It was about what comes next. It's about the governing. Virginia voters made our choice tonight, and that choice was loud and clear. We are going to work to lower costs of renting, buying, or staying in your home. We are going to cut red tape and build homes families can actually afford. We're going to lower health care costs. We're going to crack down on predatory pharmaceutical practices and surprise billing. And we're going to produce more energy, and we are going to lower costs, and we're going to do it by producing more energy here in Virginia, and we're going to make sure that large utility users make sure that they pay their fair share. We're going to grow Virginia's economy by investing in apprenticeships and job training of the future. We're going to leverage AI and cutting-edge manufacturing to bring more capital investment into our Commonwealth. We are going to take politics out of our schools. We're going to make sure that teachers are well paid and well respected. We are going to make sure that our teachers are well paid and well respected. So that our students can focus on actually learning, and so that parents know that their children will succeed. And And we are going to make our communities safer by providing the training, pay, and support that our law enforcement community needs and deserves. These aren't slogans on a bumper sticker. They are actionable policies that I am ready to implement starting on day one. And starting now, that work begins. So as we begin this transition to a new administration, I want to be absolutely clear about a couple things. First, Virginia is the only state in the South that hasn't restricted women's reproductive rights since the Dobbs decision, and under my watch, it will stay that way. In Virginia, health care decisions about contraception, fertility treatments, and reproductive care will continue to be made between women and their doctors, not politicians. That's a promise I've made and a promise I intend to keep. Second, I will always stand up for Virginia workers, always. And right now, our federal workforce is under attack, and the chaos coming out of Washington is killing Virginia jobs and creating economic uncertainty for tens of thousands of families. Government employees, government contractors, small business owners who are impacted by the chaos coming out of Washington. Virginia's economy doesn't work when Washington treats our Virginia workers as expendable. To those who have been impacted by the mass layoffs, by furloughs, by the hardships that you are experiencing, please know that I will direct the full power of the governor's office to support you. And to those across the Potomac who are attacking our jobs and our economy, I will not stand by silently while you attack Virginia's workers. I will fight every single day for every single Virginia jobs, the ones we have now and the ones we will bring to our Commonwealth into the future. I will stand up to anyone who tries to harm our economy or the livelihoods of our Virginians. As governor, my job will be to put Virginia first, full stop. And tonight, as the governor-elect, I call on Congress, Republicans and Democrats, and our president to make real progress on bringing this shutdown to an end. The Virginians, the Americans who work tirelessly for their fellow citizens deserve nothing less. I know we're living in a time filled with chaos. We live in a time marked by uncertainty. And along the way, we do our best to try and explain it to our kids. I know the list of challenges that we are facing is long, but I also know that the only way we're going to solve these problems is by tackling them together. Democrats, Republicans, independents, all of us, because that embodies the message that we sent tonight. That is what being a Commonwealth is all about. Standing united for our future. That is what Virginia is about. So let's show the world what we're made of. Let's get to work. Thank you all so very much. And I'm so excited we got this party started a little earlier than expected.
right, Spanberger coming out to a very energetic crowd, yelling, "Abby, Abby." That's how it began, and that's how it ended. And she says she has sent a message to the whole world that Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship, commonwealth over chaos.
Yeah.
She spoke on policy as well, women's reproductive rights, the chaos in Washington with the loss of federal jobs, and says she cannot wait to get to work, and says she will make sure that teachers are respected and well paid, and that she will work to make our community safer. She's going to be the 75th governor of Virginia, and of course, as you know, the first woman governor in Virginia's history.
And she did make a point of that this election is historic for her, being the first woman. She said to her kids, you know, that her husband told them, your mom's going to be the governor, and that's never been said before in the state of Virginia. She also mentioned she's going to serve all Virginians, Democrats and Republicans, saying there's more that unites us than divides us.
Yes.
She said she wants to set an example for the rest of the country. And an emotional moment at the end, thanking her husband, her daughters, her sisters, her parents, and also taking note that this was called her as the winner within an hour of polls closing. She said she's excited that she could, quote, start the party a little earlier.
A little early. And she did thank Winsome Earl Sears, too. She did. She recognized the hard work that Winsome Earl Sears has done for the state of Virginia, and that was a good moment, too, in a show of bipartisanship. But always a mom, because she called out her little girl for not cleaning up her room.
That was a moment.
That was a moment. Always a mom. All right. So, we'll be continuing to follow her victory. And again, Lieutenant Governor, that race has been called as well for Ghazala Hashmi. So, and we're still waiting on the official word on the race for Attorney General, another big race on the ballot.
That's right. So Democrat Jay Jones running against Republican incumbent Jason Miyares. Let's go to Brianna Fallon. She's standing by live in Virginia Beach with the latest. Brianna.
Yeah, just over 2 hours since the polls have closed, and we're out here at Miyares' campaign event where tensions are very high. I mean, just take a look for yourself. You can see several people around chatting and just paying close attention to those results on the screen. Now, again, the stakes are very high this election. Again, we're at Republican incumbent attorney Jason Miyares' campaign event, and while the votes are tallied, supporters of Miyares continue to flow into the room, anxious to see final results tonight. When we talked to Miyares a few weeks ago, he said the safety of Virginians is his top priority, and that's why while in office, he joined several lawsuits and created initiatives to combat violent crime.
I'm a proven prosecutor. I'm not a politician. I'm not looking to turn this office into a political office. My office has been about protecting Virginians, and that means all Virginians.
And again, we are at Miyares' campaign event where people have just been flowing in and out of this room, the room next door. Everybody's just very anxious, just awaiting for those final election results today. But that's all we have right now, as those results are still tallying in Virginia Beach. Brianna Fallon, 13 News Now.
All right, thanks so much, Brianna. And we are also live at the Jay Jones event tonight. We'll have a look at that in a couple of minutes with Emily Harrison. And remember, throughout the night, you can text the word results to the number on your screen. That 757-628-6200 will send you back a message that includes a trusted link to our website where we will be tracking the results for the 2025 November general election. Remember to text this number, text the word results, do not call.
All right, and just the most recent number from the Board of Elections on the Attorney General's race, Jay Jones at 51.79% and Miyares at 47.78%. And that is 113 precincts reporting out of 133. So Jay Jones up by a little more than 4 points.
There you go.
All right, Williamsburg, Democrat Jessica Anderson and current Republican delegate Amanda Batten are back for a rematch for Virginia's 71st House District.
Yeah, so this race was decided by a 2% margin back in 2023. Layla Cox standing by. She's tracking the latest live in Williamsburg. Layla.
Hey, well, good evening, Dana and Janet, and to our viewers watching us on our special election coverage tonight. I'm here in Williamsburg at the Williamsburg-James City County Republican Party headquarters, where many voters here say tonight that they're optimistic about the Republican candidates winning tonight's races, despite the projection of Democratic gubernatorial candidate Abigail Spanberger winning. Many here say tonight that they voted for Winsome Earl Sears to be the next governor. They're also saying that they're in support of Jason Miyares, John Reed, Rob Whitman for the congressional race, and of course, who I've been tracking all night, Republican and incumbent candidate Amanda Batten, who's running in a rematch with Democratic candidate Jessica Anderson for a very tight race for the congressional district, for the 71st congressional district. I'm just going to step aside to show you the turnout at tonight's watch party here in James City County. The race I've been telling you guys all tonight, as of right now, Associated Press has a tight race between the two candidates, with Jessica Anderson with a 52.7% lead margin against Batten, which is now at 47.3%. This is in the 71st district, spanning Williamsburg, James City, and New Kent counties. With control of the House at stake this election, both campaign teams tell me that both candidates have been up since 6 a.m. this morning, visiting all 21 precincts as a final push to voters. Batten has represented the area since 2019 and is seeking her fourth full term. During her campaign, Batten emphasized her years of experience in advocating for legislation that benefits the 71st district. A little bit of background about Batten: she serves as the caucus chair of the House Republicans, member of the House Commerce and Emergency Committee, and also House Rules, House Education, and House Public Safety Committees. As the delegate for the 71st district, she's carried out bipartisan legislation to improve safety on college campuses and expand access to mental health care. I spoke with her a little while ago. She says if reelected, she will continue to work to reduce state-imposed regulatory burdens that result in higher costs for Virginians. And Virginia voters say economy is the top issue facing the state right now. She says she remains committed to ensuring that the local economy is more diversified and affordable. Now, the race between incumbent Batten and Democratic candidate Jessica Anderson will be one to watch tonight. As Dana mentioned, this race was called by just a 2% margin back in 2023 and a 667 vote difference. Now, let's hear a little bit from Batten as I spoke with her as she entered tonight's watch party ahead of the final votes waiting for the elections tonight.
Well, a lot of what you do on the last day is kind of just meeting voters while they're at their polling place. Most people have already made up their mind, but there's a few folks that I want to talk about some of the issues. Obviously, cost of living is the big one, and just, sharing a lot of the work, frankly, that you've done in the district throughout the years, and the connections that you've made, and the good work that's you're continuing to do for your constituents.
Right, Ms. Batten, you're looking to be reelected to be in your fourth term for the House of Delegates. What platforms will you continue to push if you are reelected for voters that don't know about all the work that you've done?
Sure. Cost of living is obviously the big one. We've heard about it over and over again on the campaign trail. We've seen it in our polls. We've heard a lot about the car tax this year. I actually co-patroned some legislation earlier this year that would gradually eliminate the car tax, work to do that. I think you'll see more of that. Education is still a big issue. We still have some, COVID-related learning loss. What are the education initiatives that we can take to make sure that our kids are back on track so that they're competitive in today's really challenging work environment?
Right, and my last question for you, obviously you've had years of experience, but to the viewers that are watching today, what sets you apart from your Democratic opponent, Ms. Anderson?
I would say my experience. I've been working in my district for well over a decade now, obviously as a legislator now, but prior to that as a legislative aide. So I really do understand the concerns of my constituents. It's a very diverse legislative district. You've got the city of Williamsburg, of course, with the college, but then you have some really rural areas out in New Kent. And binding it all together is the fact that New Kent and James City County remain two of the fastest growing localities in Virginia, which poses a lot of great opportunities, but also some really unique challenges. And I've been there on the front lines, for years now, working on those issues and connecting with people to make sure that we've got solutions that work for our community.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Batten, for your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to say as we're waiting for the election results tonight?
No, just appreciate all the people who turned out and vote. It's always great to see, all of your volunteers and activists that are out and that they're engaging in the process.
Now, we've heard from Anderson earlier today out canvassing as the voters were showing out to the polls before they closed. We've heard from incumbent Republican delegate Batten as she's continuing to push to be reelected to the 71st District House of Delegates. Now, like I said, this was a tight race that was close in 2023 with a 2% vote margin. Right now, the Associated Press says about 78% of the votes have been tallied. And stay with us at 13 News Now as we continue tonight's coverage to figure out who is going to win the House seat for the 71st District of Virginia, which spans Williamsburg, James City, and New Kid counties. For now, live in Williamsburg, I'm Layla Cox with 13 News Now. Back to you guys.
All right, Layla, thank you for that very thorough update on that race, and we'll be right back.
Top of the 9 p.m. going as scripted.
We switched 5Bs. No.
Mic check, Janet.
Yes, yeah, you are deep breathing in my ear. Hi, mic check. You are deep breathing in my ear. I think.
Yes, check 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spanberger.
Hey, can you hear me? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
What are the chances? Because like it's looking a little pitiful in here.
All right, thanks for staying with us for our extended election night coverage on 13 News Now Plus. I'm Janet Roach.
And I'm Connor Reel, and Democrat Abigail Spanberger has made history as Virginia's first female governor. We heard from her just moments ago.
My fellow Virginians, tonight we sent a message. We sent a message to every corner of the Commonwealth. A message to our neighbors and our fellow Americans across the country. We sent a message to the whole world that
And just 30 minutes ago, the Associated Press called the lieutenant governor's race for Democrat Gonzalo Hashmi. And we have live team coverage tonight with reporters covering our major statewide races and several House of Delegates contests.
All right, we're going to start with Alex Littlehales. He is live in Richmond, where again Abigail Spanberger has been declared Virginia's next governor. Still pretty loud in there, Alex.
It is loud. Spanberger, now governor-elect Abigail Spanberger, just left the stage to my right about 10 minutes ago. And she had mentioned, and the sound we had just heard was, this idea that they sent a message to all corners of Virginia with tonight's results. And I think a lot of the speech that you heard just now from her was sort of reiterating and doubling down on the brand of her campaign, which has sort of been, a campaign based on the idea of decency in contrast to the Trump administration. She made a specific note that she wanted to govern with decency for not just Virginians who voted for her, but even Virginians who still cast their ballot for her opponent, Winsome Earl Sears. Independents, who she says that she was thankful to get some of the votes for. That was sort of the message you heard, right? We had heard for weeks and months that she is proud of the fact that she is seen as one of the more bipartisan members of Congress, especially within Virginia's delegation of congressional leaders. And so I think you heard a lot of her speech kind of nodding to that idea that she wanted to bring a change from what you see in Washington, D.C., and maybe bring a more middle-of-the-road approach. Obviously still running, as a Democrat, as we know, but she has, a background that is interesting, right? She is for someone with CIA experience, and she is someone who is actually backed by the Police Benevolent Association. That is something that you do not see from a typical Democratic candidate. So a lot of her speech that was about a half hour ago, it was a half hour in length that just finished about 10 minutes ago, was a lot about, finding commonalities amongst Virginians here, even taking a moment to thank and congratulate Winsome Sears on the campaign that she ran. And so, but it is still a party, frankly, here in the convention center in Richmond, because as she concluded her speech, she said that this is, frankly, much sooner than she anticipated giving that acceptance speech on stage here in Richmond. And so it is only 9:15 about, and the race has already been called by the Associated Press, and so you still have hundreds of people, other congressional leaders here, so some of her colleagues in Washington, D.C., some of the Democratic state senators and delegates from the House of Delegates here, still hundreds and if not thousands of people still milling around and enjoying this night in Virginia.
All right, Alex, thanks. And that's Alex Littlehales live from the Abigail Spanberger campaign. I guess Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger now. Alex, thanks so much for the update. We appreciate it. And now we continue our team coverage with Derek Lytle live in Leesburg, where Winsome Earl Sears' team has gathered together in anticipation of results that did not go their way. Derek.
Hey, Connor. Yeah, that's right. We still have yet to hear from Winsome Earl Sears herself, but you can still hear the music above me and a lot of chatter from people out here. A lot of smiles, people having a good time, but a lot of people eager to hear from the Lieutenant Governor, hear what she has to say with this disappointing result. Now, there's a lot of commotion and chatter in the hallway, a lot of press taking pictures. It seems like staff right now is preparing for her to take the stage at any minute. It'll be really intriguing to hear what she has to say. Obviously, in Spanberger's address, she did give credit to Earl Sears on a campaign run well. Again, it'll be really interesting to see what the Lieutenant Governor has to say about her campaign run, about what Spanberger has done to become governor, and everything within a disappointing result. We'll be here, and I'll be sure to bring it to you as soon as she takes that stage, Connor.
All right, Derek, thanks. And we will certainly be ready for when she does take the stage.
Yes, we will
give
take
her
that.
speech out there at Winsome Earl Sears' campaign event. All right, let's toss things over to Dana Smith now to get a look at results by our local cities and counties. Dana.
Historic election now with these results being called for Abigail Spanberger. Taking a look at the map of Virginia here, you see a lot of blue versus the red. We're going to look at some of these local results and how they're stacking up. So first, going to our area, this is Virginia Beach. Right now, 52 for Abigail Spanberger, 47 for Winsome Earl Sears. This is with 50% of the votes in. I'm just stepping off the screen so you can see it a little bit better. Let's take a look now. This is Chesapeake. We've got 52 for Abigail Spanberger versus 46.9 for Winsome Earl Sears. So much of the Hampton Roads area going blue. 59 Abigail Spanberger in Suffolk to 40 for Winsome Earl Sears. We do have some areas that did go red for Winsome Earl Sears. So Isle of Wight, here we go, 58 for Winsome. 41 for Abigail Spanberger. Right next door in Southampton, 60% for Winsome Earl Sears versus 39 for Abigail Spanberger. This race being called within an hour of polls closing for Spanberger, and Spanberger pulling her teammates across the line. If we can go to the results for Lieutenant Governor, you're seeing similar results there. So there we go. Taking a look for Virginia Beach. So John Reed edging out Ghazala Hashmi with 50% of the votes in right now. He has 50% to 49. Of course, we're going to keep an eye on this as those results come in, but getting a little bit closer. Chesapeake, again, a close one, but Ghazala Hashmi 50% to John Reed 49. Now, this race was interesting. This was one of the only races, well, the only race we did not have a debate in. This was Ghazala Hashmi running a campaign of really just on the ground locally, with John Reed calling for this debate for all of Virginia to see the two of them. But Ghazala Hashmi edging him out now as we call this race for Hashmi. Suffolk 57% to 42. But it is interesting to see a lot more red on this map in Hampton Roads right now. It's still early. We still need to get more of these votes in. But Isle of Wight, 99% in, and 60% went for John Reed versus 39 for Ghazala Hashmi. We also have the results for Attorney General. This is another race that was very controversial because of those leaked text messages from Jay Jones. And we weren't sure how this one was going to go with that controversy. But as you can see, we do have some some blue and some reds down here. Let me move this so we can see it a little bit better. So with that controversy, Jason Miyares, 53 to 46 for Jay Jones. This is with 50% of the votes in. Right next door in Chesapeake, similar, 50% for Jason Miyares, 49 for Jay Jones. This is interesting considering these two cities did go for Abigail Spanberger in these earlier votes coming in. But now with just the quarter, 33% coming in, Jason Miyares has that edge in our area. A different story in Norfolk, a different story up on the Eastern Shore where Jay Jones does have that slight edge, 51 to 48. But we do still see a lot of these larger blue bubbles indicating those votes. So it could be that, the Spanberger campaign has helped drag Jay Jones over the race here in this race for Attorney General. We do have down by Suffolk, 80% of the votes in. We have Jay Jones sitting at 56 to Jason Miyares, 43. Right next door here. Oh. There we go. So as we see, these results are still very early. Jason Miyares has the slight edge in some of these Hampton Roads areas, but we are looking at what will likely be called for Jay Jones. But 63 Jason Miyares, 36 for Jay Jones. This is 93 Southampton. So Jason Miyares definitely has the edge here. We're going to keep an eye on these as these results come in. But of course, right now, Spanberger, Ghazala Hashmi, they are winning their respective races. We're still waiting for the results from Jay Jones. But it is likely, Connor, Janet, that we may have this blue wave coming in across Virginia. It seems to be the early results coming in right now. I'll keep an eye on this. We'll see how things go as more precincts report and, of course, let you know.
All right, Dana, thanks so much for that breakdown, really giving more detail on how this shook out across Hampton Roads. Associated Press right now, Jay Jones 51.6%, Jason Miyares 48% with 79% of votes.
That's the Virginia
counted.
Board of Elections?
That is Associated Press right now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So more to come, plenty more races, including in House of Delegates. There are major seats up for grabs here, Jane.
All 100. All right, welcome back. The Associated Press has called the lieutenant governor's race for Democratic State Senator Ghazala Hashmi. She's in Richmond with Spanberger, and we're waiting to hear from Republican John Reed's campaign. Now, this is video from earlier at his watch party in Glen Allen. All right, we're joined by two political analysts, Leslie Cago from Virginia Wesleyan University and Eric Claville from Norfolk State University. But I'm hearing that Winsome Earl Sears is taking the podium. Is that correct? All right, let's go to her really quickly first.
Love you more. Thank you all for coming. You know, I'm really not even supposed to be here. Think about it. I mean, I'm the immigrant from another country, and yet you all have given me the opportunity to do this. This is such an amazing thing for me. Really, even when I had the protesters from the other side, I looked at them in wonder. They thought they were hurting me, but they weren't, because I thought to myself, this is America. It's amazing that we can protest each other and go home and cook dinner for the kids and not wonder who's coming to get us. And we must never lose that. America is such a wonderful place. I don't think we know that. I'm watching people teach their children to hate their country. Why would you do that? Where else are you going to go? And so I thank you for giving me this very great opportunity. And it started, of course, when you gave my father the opportunity to come to this great country with, again, you heard me, his $1.75. And that's what started the trajectory of my life, where I became, of course, a Marine, a business owner, CEO of certain organizations, and then a delegate.
All right, Winsome Earl Sears taking the podium and saying that not even supposed to be here, but thanking people for giving her this opportunity. You know, she is immigrated from Jamaica, and obviously very grateful for just having the opportunity. Here again with our political analysts, this is Leslie Cago from Virginia Wesleyan University and Eric Claville from Norfolk State University. Thank you both for coming on. Now, we all listened to Spanberger's speech, and she definitely was trying to paint a bipartisan picture here. Your thoughts on what she had to say?
Yeah, I thought her speech was one of unification. If you heard it, she mentioned, pragmatism over polarized politics. And when you look at today, the political environment, just the dissension, the extremism, it is a message that I believe that the Democrats across the country are looking at what will resonate. You know, keep in mind, with the economic woes that everyone is experiencing, based upon the policies coming out of Washington, for the most part, solely from that, whether it be DOGE, whether it be the government shutdown, whether it be the cut of jobs, the furloughs, layoffs.
Medicaid, healthcare.
Absolutely. You know, individuals saying, you know what we have now is simply not working. We need to try something else. And I think she captured that. I think the National Democratic Party have captured that. And I think moving forward, if they can continue to message around unification, economics, and a people's movement, then I think they have a winning message across the board. And I think we're going to start to see that as we have in New York, New Jersey, and even possibly California. Okay.
I want to talk a little bit more about her speech, but let's go back to Winsome Earl Sears. We had a little bit of a technical problem. She's still speaking, so let's listen in.
I have to tell you, I think I learn more in a loss than I ever do in a victory. And I think there's just something about that. And it builds you. It's either going to tear you apart or it's going to build you. Well, I don't tear apart. That's right. I have God. I don't tear apart. I don't think we came up short. I think we tried very, very hard. So many had counted me out for so long. And it's an amazing thing to watch. And we just kept plugging and plugging. And so I want to say to our young people here, remember that life has ups and downs. You must never stay down. There is nothing down there. You must always rise. It's one life that you have, and it must be lived to the fullest. Your life has purpose. You have purpose. I have just called Abigail, and she did not answer, and she doesn't have to answer. No, she doesn't have to answer. I think she's busy. So it went to voicemail, and I left her a voicemail, and I asked her to please consider all of us Virginians, that she will represent all of us and not just some of us. And I wished her success. If she is successful, Virginia will be successful. That's what I wish for her. And I asked her to support policies that will unite us, that will not divide us, that will strengthen our families and keep us safe. And that if I can ever be of help doing that, I'm here. I'm ready to volunteer. After all, apparently I have nothing else to do. But volunteering isn't something that's new to me. I mean, I ran a men's prison ministry, one of the best things I think I've done, apart from my husband, my children, etc. And then, of course, when I also ran a women's homeless shelter, just the fact that I would be able to shape lives, to tell them, you're not done yet. You're done when you're in the grave. But until then, God has given you breath, and you must use it. And when you are in a place, you must serve others. You must never be about your own self. And so that's one reason I'm here. You know, I came back into politics because I believed I was called. I saw test scores, and I thought it was a good education that lifted my father out of poverty, and it's a good education that will lift all of us out of poverty. And when I was vice president of our state board of education, I was never laughing if a principal or a teacher or a school board person stood before me, because our children don't get do-overs, and they weren't learning. So I hope that Abigail considers school choice, opportunities for our children to excel. It can't but be just one path. No. How dare you stand in the doorway of a parent that says, I want something different for my child. Please give me the money. I am low income, but can you give me some money that I can choose a school that I believe is best for my child? We've celebrated the 71st anniversary of Brown versus Board of Ed. And what was that about? Was it about the worship of a brick building? No. It was about the parents being able to decide where to send their children to school. That's still the option that parents want to have. Folks, I ran a race, again, based on foundational ideas that would, well, repeal the car tax, protect our girl children especially, and not create sexual trauma for them in bathrooms and locker rooms and in their sports. And I ran a race to expand our economy. When I had my business, it thrived. I started my business in the Great Recession. We did very well in a recession. And then COVID came, and we did very well in COVID as well. But it was the decision of the then governor that caused my business to close. And so it matters who the governor is. Policies matter. And to be safe matters, because to be governor is to have the other title of commander-in-chief. And the first job, I believe, that any governor is to keep the people safe. If you don't have safety and security, you have nothing. And so I'm not going to give up. Have you given up? No. No, you must not. My opponent, Abigail, ran as a moderate. If she governs as one, then she will unite us and she'll heal our divide and win our support. I hope and pray she does. But all should note, I don't consider this a loss, because remember, I've always said this, I'm a Christian first and a Republican second, and that's the way it always will be, because no political party has ever given their life for me. So your voice isn't lost, and I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. Virginia is not a radical leftist state, and we will hold to account anyone who tries to impose on us the ideology of the left. We must offer our hands of cooperation, but the gesture comes with a warning. Do not tread on me. The wind belongs to God. He has ordained all that is and will be, and he wants his children to live in peace. Let us do so. Let us come together tonight as Virginians with goodwill in our hearts, filled with the hope that comes with the new day. We must pray for Abigail. We must pray for our government. You are the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We must pray for our state.
All right, Winsome Earl Sears striking a note of positivity and saying that she does not see this as a loss and that she is not down and that you have to live your life to the fullest and she has God. What are your thoughts on it? Seems like both candidates kind of striking the chord of unity.
Yeah, I think the Sears speech had a little bit of an edge. We're still playing with kind of the divisive cultural messaging underneath some of the rhetoric of unity. So I didn't see that as exactly the same type of speech. Going back to Spanberger's speech, she clearly was talking, this wasn't just about, thank yous, and she talked policy. She talked about reproductive rights. She talked about teacher pay. She talked about making communities safer. Your thoughts on being able to kind of delve into those issues right away to kind of send the message that I'm ready to get to work? I think Spanberger knows the Virginia voter who voted for her tonight. And I think you can really see her understanding of the issues that are important to Virginians, particularly Virginians in the major metropolitan areas that really pushed her over. And I would say, too, she did a lot better in places that traditionally we think of as Republican, including she seems to have put up pretty good numbers in Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, and the like. So she is really speaking to, I think, some of the moderate tendencies that Virginia voters have. How important was it for her to begin to talk about some of those key issues in this victory speech?
I think it's very important. As we were in the back, we were looking at the map. And there were, in the last election, 2021, you saw west of Richmond all red, all Republican. However, in this election, if you look at the map, you'll see a lot of blue, a lot more blue west of Richmond, where normally you would see all red, especially in the county seats of a lot of these counties. So what is that saying? That's telling us that there is a message, there's a hunger in all of Virginia, Southwest Virginia included, for something different. And that economic message is the message that we see resonating with voters, and not just voters here in Virginia, but really across the country. So it's very important that she struck the chord of unification, because there are some messages that the Democrats nationwide can coalesce around, because 2026 campaigning starts at 12:01 a.m.
All right, and so they have Democrats learned some real lessons by this campaign that Abigail ran, getting ready for next year?
I think those Democrats who've been pushing for moderate candidates are really feeling good tonight. Both in New Jersey and Virginia, you saw moderate Democrats do well. I don't think that means it's the only path forward, but again, the headwinds for Democrats are really good to the extent you can understand all of these races as partially a response to the president's current policies. People were motivated to come out and vote, and they voted Democratic.
What are Republicans learning tonight?
Well, what they're learning is that extremism doesn't work. And what they're also learning is that the American people are waking up to policies that endanger their economic well-being. When you don't receive a paycheck for working, that is a problem. When Thanksgiving is around the corner and there's a possibility that there will not be a robust Thanksgiving dinner that you're used to, that's an issue. And not governing together, utilizing nuclear option, meaning for legislative purposes, meaning a 50+1 as opposed to 60 votes as it's been used for hundreds of years, that is a problem. So what voters are saying, that fiscal policy has to change, the way that elected officials work together has to change, the rhetoric also has to change, and overall, voters are saying that they want their country to go in a way that it lifts everyone and not just a small segment of the population. When the top starts to get too heavy and the majority of Americans start to feel the pain, that's when you start to see the turning tide. And I think the Democrats have seen that. And I think the Republicans are weary of the same.
All right. Okay. Well, Hashmi is getting ready to take the stage. And this was a race. You thought this race would be a little bit closer. Did you?
I did. I thought it'd be a little bit closer due to the fact that, of course, these candidates were not well known. But at the same time, when you look at the top of the ticket, you know, policy itself is impactful from bottom up, from local elections to statewide elections that are elected within your own locality. However, elections are won from the top down. So the top of the ticket brought voters to the polls. I believe that Barack Obama, former president, who came here to Norfolk, really helped to galvanize and energize voters to get out there and vote as well. The Republican side did not have that from their president, so I think that the voters came to the poll and carried those other two candidates.
All right, let's go to Hashmi. She is on the podium speaking right now.
Tonight, Virginia, we have pointed our compass in a direction that guides us to the future while also building out our roots on our collective embrace of decency, dignity, and dedication. Virginia has chosen leadership that lifts up people instead of tearing them down. And together we have proven that in Virginia, a child's name, a family's personal struggles, and a community's identity are not barriers to belonging. I am so incredibly honored and humbled to stand before you as Virginia's Lieutenant Governor-elect. But as we all know, this moment of success is not mine alone. It belongs to every Virginian who believes that our politics must be more hopeful, more inclusive, and focused on solving problems instead of scoring points on the backs of other people's pain. It belongs to every parent who aspires to strong educational opportunities for their children. It belongs to all of our workers whose labor deserves respect and dignity. It belongs to the countless young people who refuse to sit on the sidelines and instead are charting a path forward through talent and skill, ingenuity, and
All right, Lieutenant Governor-elect Zala Hashmi, a little technical problem there, but obviously a very spirited speech. She's also talking about inclusion and unity as well, and an important topic to touch on tonight.
Absolutely, and again, something you hear her mirroring from Spanberger's speech. So clearly kind of a positive message, and kind of we're going to hit the ground running in a kind of moving forward together sort of way.
Your thoughts on just a little bit that you were able to hear?
Yeah, again, this particular ticket ran as a ticket from the very beginning when they announced their, not just when they announced their candidacy, but after the primaries at the annual dinner. The other side did not. So it's not surprising that they are speaking as one voice. I think when Jay Jones comes up, he'll do the exact same thing. Again, it's a message of unification. You heard her say dignity. You heard her say dedication, and also to uplift individuals and citizens as opposed to putting them down. So you see the countering of what we see as Americans coming out of Washington and from the other side. So again, not surprising, but unification is the message of tonight.
Yeah, and that has to be refreshing to a lot of voters because the division has been so toxic, you know, coming out of D.C. and just across the country in general. This is probably something that people have been wanting to hear.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the case. And even if you look at this Virginia race, the gubernatorial debate didn't feel particularly kind of conciliatory and respectful. And I do think there's an element and a tone to our politics now that a lot of voters really dislike. Well, it motivates some and it gets them to the polls. For a lot of people, it's off-putting.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So, did you have a final word there?
Yeah, I will say that this is the centrist message. Unification is the word of the day. But there are members of the party that also want accountability of the other side as well. So you heard that from Gavin Newsom about taking a stance, leaving the stance of Michelle Obama and going toward a more stance that's...
No more we go high when we go low, no.
So you do have, I just want to make sure we do have that side of the party as well, but we'll see where that lands.
We'll see where that lands. Thank you so much. All right, and we'll be right back.
All 100 seats in the House of Delegates are up for election tonight. And in the 97th district, we have a winner, incumbent Democrat Michael Fagans.
Madison Schlegel is live in Virginia Beach with more. Madison.
Janet, Connor, yeah, we're here at the Crown Plaza in Town Center, and as you can see, we're here at Michael Fagan's election night watch party, but the news of his win hasn't yet trickled down yet to the room. You can see everyone's here seated, waiting for those results to trickle in a little bit more. But we got an opportunity to catch up with the delegate this afternoon while he was still out campaigning. Take a look at this video. We caught up with him while he was out at Kempsville Library, and again, Delegate Fagans was elected into office back in 2023, and he was out at polling sites as early as 6 a.m. this morning. He is a retired Air Force veteran, and he beat out incumbent Karen Greenhall in 2023 to get the seat. One issue that Fagans has been working on to resolve here in Virginia Beach is a foul odor that was coming off of Thalia Creek in Virginia Beach. That was an issue that we broke here on 13 News Now, but Fagans says that he's thankful for that reporting because voters today stopped him at the polls to thank him for the work that he's been doing in that case. And he says that he's going to be pushing forward on work just like that. Keeping up with this issue, he says, is one of his first things that he plans to address and release more information about how they're tackling that issue by the end of November. But we're going to have a little sound here play in a moment of what Delegate Fagan says his most important for issues and voters right now and what he's thanking people for right now. Take a look at this.
That was actually one of the reasons why a voter came up to me and said, hey, you know, I came out and voted for you because of the way that you addressed that issue. And so I think that just speaks to the importance of just taking care of problems, no matter if they're big or small.
Now, we also caught up with challenger Tim Anderson, too, who was running for the Republican end of this ticket. And unfortunately, it didn't go the way as Anderson planned this evening, but we caught up with him while he was at Red Church this afternoon canvassing. You can take a look at that video here. He was a former delegate and he resigned to run for state senate. But again, that was also an unsuccessful run for Anderson. One of the biggest issues that he was fighting here in the state of Virginia was the car property tax in Virginia, something that he said that voters were really aligned on and in agreement with eliminating. And on top of that, we've also got a little bit of words coming down from Anderson's camp with that loss. He says, as for what comes next, that's something that he's looking forward to. People have seen him take on governments and powerful institutions to defend the rights of everyday citizens, and he's been accused for doing politics, but the truth is that his heart is always standing against injustice. Now, those are words straight from Anderson's camp right now, but we want to give you a little bit of words here about the positive vibe that he had going into tonight. He knew that this was going to be a tough race to win. Take a listen.
We've had a lot of good response. This is ground zero for where we would have to really see a good turnout for me to win. So I'm here, and we're hoping to, have a good result here.
All right, now you can hear behind me, we've got the delegate coming out right now to do a little talking. He's going to be speaking here in just a minute, but as you can tell, the news of who won just broke in this room. Those were the cheers behind us. We're going to be waiting for Delegate Fagans to come out any moment now to give his remarks on this win himself. Again, this was a race that was very closely watched here and was close in Virginia Beach. Sorry, I'm just looking to see here if he's going to come talk. No, it looks like they're going to talk to somebody else first. But again, we're going to be sticking on top of this race here live in Virginia Beach. Madison Schlegel, 13 News Now.
Okay, Madison, thank you for that update.
And isn't that interesting? We go live out to the campaign site, and during her intro, they hadn't heard anything yet. We had the information here, but they had not heard.
Exactly.
By the time we come back, that place ready to explode. Now, we have another campaign site live right now. Jordy Clark in Hampton on the 86th district race.
Very close.
Between incumbent Republican A.C. Cardoza and Democrat Virgil Thornton. Like you said, a very close race out there.
Very close race.
In 86. Jordy.
Yes, tight race is honestly an understatement. It has been going lots of excitement here tonight, everyone. Now, again, this has been a race that Virginia is closely watching as they are, again, the results are still coming in. Now, I am live here with Delegate Cardoza to talk about some of those results that are slowly coming in. I mean, how are you feeling right now? Because, again, this is a razor-thin tight margin.
Well, we're in a race. I won my first one by 64. We're still in this. It's too close to call. You know, look, I'm the last man standing. So we're here. No matter what happens, I'm going to get up tomorrow and serve the people of Virginia. I still have a mandate all the way up till January, and hopefully we get this. If it's by one vote, I'm going to be here for the next 2 years serving the people of Virginia. Look, this has been the most dishonest, most expensive, dirtiest campaign. My opponent had to spend $3 million lying because he could not talk about my record. He couldn't talk about the things that I've done for this community. He couldn't talk about any of that stuff. All he could do is lie. That's all he could do. And he spent $3 million doing that. And it's up to the people of Virginia. It's too close to call. But if it ends up going away, he spent $3 million to lose because he just wanted to lie and not talk about the issues. That's right. That's what we're here to do. No matter what, I'm getting up tomorrow and I'm going to be serving the people of Virginia. We're in the fight. It's razor thin, and we're going to see what happens. And I've done this before. I've been here before. That's another day.
No, absolutely. And you certainly have many supporters here for you. And you had talked earlier when we spoke just about that voter turnout, especially because I think that's what we're seeing a lot in this election, or people are getting out and learning about their candidates. So what does this type margin say about the voters who are turning out, about the voters who are learning about what's going on and being invested in their civic duty?
It's 2021 again. That's what it is. This has always been a tightly contested district. It's always going to be a purple district. We knew that coming in. We planned from the beginning that we may be running like we're down by 20. And so we ran a race like we're down by 20. Look, I'm the last man standing. A lot of people thought that it was going to maybe be close, and they're already home. I'm still here. We're still alive. We're still in the fight. Yes, sir. So we're going to see what happens. We got to wait till all the votes get counted. But I'm here in the fight, so another day.
No, absolutely. And I think it's also just important, like you had said, that no matter what the results are, you want to serve the community. You want to serve your constituents, whether a delegate or just, of course, being a member of the community. So talk about what you're focused on, whether you win or lose when it comes to what comes after today.
Well, tomorrow I wake up, I call United Way, I call our local food bank because we have furloughed employees. We have people who are not getting fed. We have people who are not getting what they need, and my job is to take care of them all the way till January 11th. And January 12th, we may be just retaking the oath and going back at it again for the next 2 years. So that's where we're at. That's my job. That's what we're going to do. Wake up, do the work.
Absolutely. And again, as those results come in, again, just to preface, the race has not been called yet. It's so tight, a very razor-thin margin. But what are you hopeful for when it comes to Virginia and in its entirety? Because I think we know how much it's crucial on the local level if we want to affect change on the national level.
Well, you know, Virginia has always been a purple state. It's always going to be a purple state, just like this district. We're going to see how it goes. We have a governor who's there now. We have a lieutenant governor. We have an attorney general. We have a house that's going to be a little more blue. But when I came in, it came from a blue house, went to a red house, and it's going to flip back and forth. It's a pendulum. But we're going to see what happens. So tomorrow we'll know if I'm here. We'll know if we're going. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Of course. I just want to thank you so much for, of course, talking to us. And again, as you can see that, you know, voter turnout, that's kind of what's been crucial about this, is getting people out to the polls. And we have seen that, definitely a record number of people headed to the polls, especially for that early voting. And of course, today on Election Day. So again, the race is too tight to call just yet, but we will be on standby waiting for those results to come in. As you can see, the watch party here is definitely excited to see what the turnout is going to be. But we'll keep you guys updated as we learn more throughout the night. But for now, live, Jordy Clark, 13 News Now.
Hey, Jordy, thank you. And yes, this race is extremely tight. So before, when we first went to her, AC Cordoza was in the lead. And just during that live shot, it flipped. So I have here Virgil Thornton, 50.40% with 10,021 votes. A.C. Cardoza with 49.34%, 9,810 votes. So that's a difference of about 200 votes.
Razor thin margins indeed,
Yes.
and a race that is still very much up for grabs based on our
really,
most recent
really
update.
is. And that's covering, parts of Hampton and Poquoson on the peninsula.
Okay, we'll continue to keep you updated. No shortage of enthusiasm from the Cardoza campaign, as we heard there out at campaign headquarters, and from Jordy Clark as well. Thank you, Jordy. Now, we also have the 89th district in Chesapeake and Suffolk.
All right, incumbent Republican Baxter Ennis is not running for re-election. Shane Fordham is live in Chesapeake with more on the race between Democrat Casey Carnegie and Republican Mike Lanonia.
Well, Janet, Connor, this is by far one of the most competitive races in this entire election. Both candidates have shared interests that voters tell me they really resonate with and really want to see come to fruition. Now, some voters off camera told me that this race specifically was one of the hardest decisions of the night for them because of what both candidates stand for, because of their priorities, because of their foundations to their respective campaigns. Now, looking at this race specifically for the House of Delegates for the 89th district between Democrat candidate Casey Carnegie and Republican candidate Mike Lanonia. Now, both candidates say they're committed to improving education, enhancing public safety. Oh, I'm sorry. Janet, Connor, back to you. Seems like we have some breaking news.
Thank you for that. We want to go to Jason Miyares. He is speaking now from his headquarters, the incumbent Attorney General. So let's listen to what he has to say. Okay.
Say, what kind of name is Miyares anyway? And I'd say, well, it's a Southern name. Really deep South. But I became a lawyer because of someone who's not here tonight, my Uncle Angel Miyares, who, when he was a young man in Cuba, was taken away in the middle of the night, suffered the humiliation of a mock execution. He always taught me the reverence of what our country is, that we're rules of law, not men. After law school, I found my way to being a prosecutor. I sat with the victims. I fought in court. It was the most fulfilling job I've ever done in my career. Thank you to Harvey Bryant and Colin Stolley. It was the most fulfilling job of my career until you, Virginia, made me the top law enforcement official in Virginia. What an honor. What an honor it is to be your Attorney General. Now, my most important advisor is here, my wife, Paige. Please give her a round of applause. She's my most important advisor, and she's the CEO I most admire. Please also give a round of applause to the diamonds of my heart, my daughters, Gabriella and Sophia. My daughter, Elena, is at dress rehearsal tonight. She can't be here, but thank you all. These strong women deserve applause because, candidly, they've tolerated me, their daddy, and their husband from being gone all the time these last 4 years as I threw myself into the job of being your Attorney General. They knew serving Virginia was a calling and an opportunity. I'm so grateful that my family embraced it. We changed the Attorney General's office completely, and I have to give a quick remark to the remarkable men and women that I got to lead every day in that office. Thank you. It was a true honor to be your Attorney General. You all are an extraordinary group of men and women, and every day we said that we were going to make the safety of Virginians our mission. The Attorney General's office we inherited was weak and a soft office, focused more on politics, but we made it focused on where the victims should always come, first, where crime fighting was our #1 priority and public safety was the objective every day that we worked. I would not have been able to do what we did, like Project Ceasefire, which flooded our highest crime areas with crime-fighting assets and prosecutors, and it worked. I'm so proud of the work we've done, being the #1 state in the drop of addiction deaths of any state in the entire country. Thank you. We stood with law enforcement, and we made it clear. We made it clear, so as long as I ran the office of the Attorney General, yes, we would back the blue. Police knew that if they did their jobs, I had their backs. That's the only way to keep our law-abiding families safe in their homes and on their streets. But getting tough is not just about prosecuting and policing. It's also recognizing that the family unit is the key to our safety and security, and realizing the Commonwealth of Virginia has to do the right thing and set the right example. We went after those fentanyl dealers and prosecuted enough fentanyl off the streets of Virginia that would have saved the lives of 7 million Virginians. We launched One Pill Can Kill as well to educate our kids. We went after the big pharmaceutical companies that had pushed OxyContin into so many of our communities and treated Virginia like it was a chemistry experiment. I defended the laws of Virginia in court, and I did not care one iota about partisan politics. But there's another duty I took great pride in, and it's not the job description of the Attorney General as all. It's when I travel around the state to meet our new Americans. One of my earliest memories of my life was my mother coming in our kitchen and asking me to teach her the Pledge of Allegiance. She had to learn it for her naturalization ceremonies. It's one of those moments as a child that you have that reminds you quickly and teaches you, gosh, my family's a little bit different. As I've often said, as the first child of an immigrant to be Attorney General, that if your family came to this remarkable country seeking hope and opportunity, then your family's like my family. It's the honor of my life to be your Attorney General. And my favorite job as Attorney General is where I spent my July 4th at Fort Monroe, welcoming 97 new Americans from 47 countries. To be able to stand in front of that group of new Americans and look them in the eye and say, it is the honor of my life as your 48th Attorney General to welcome you home. It is indeed a reminder that we are the American miracle. This past month, October, was the 60th anniversary of a scared 19-year-old girl getting on an airplane, penniless and homeless, and not knowing where her next meal was going to come from. And that was my mother, Miriam Miyares. And it's been a tough, tough year for her medically, but she wasn't going to miss tonight. And I want to thank Mamita for everything she taught me about the American dream. She faced down Castro and so much in life, and she's been an incredible example for me. Now, one of the things I'm most proud of about this campaign is that we won so many votes from the freedom seekers of Virginia. People who hailed from countries all over the globe came up to me on the campaign trail, whether they were from Nicaragua, or from Vietnam, or from China, to tell me how excited they were to support our campaign. And I was honored to have their confidence. And I will work to keep these new Republican voters in my party every day after today. Listen, Virginians, politics is like a pendulum. The public sentiment swings one way and then the next. Tonight, it swung a little bit too far in the wrong direction, in my opinion. And folks, it will swing back. It always does. The Democrats that have won tonight need to remember that as they govern. The people of Virginia do not want an extreme agenda. They do not want a government that divides us. They do not want a partisan radical approach out of the people they are sending to Richmond. They want both parties to work together. I keep a sign in my office in Richmond. I see it every day when I sit at my desk. It's my favorite quote from Thomas Jefferson, and it is this: I have never found a difference of opinion in politics, in philosophy, or religion as cause to withdraw from a friend. It's just the idea that we're so much more than our political divides. We are Americans. And a wise Marine once told me that if you walk at Arlington National Cemetery and you see those crosses and those stars of David's, you do not see an R or a D next to anyone's name. And to never forget that someone that thinks differently than you politically has literally died for this remarkable country. Amen. And so, as the hallmark of our democracy, I wish Jay Jones the best in this new job. I know given the circumstances of the last 6 weeks, many of my supporters will find that difficult. But the reason I wish Jay the best is because we, the people of Virginia, need it. We need an Attorney General who will focus every day on keeping us safe. And it's my sincere hope that Jay does that. As I've said before, the least of these deserve the best from us. Folks, I do not know what my next chapter will be. But my chapter is not over. And Virginians, Republicans, we are down, but we're not out. I will always fight for what is right and just for Virginia every day between now and the day my successor is sworn in. And I will never stop believing and working for Virginia, because I've always said that Virginians, you deserve a government as good and as decent as you are, that is civil and fair as the people of our Commonwealth. I also have to end with this. I need to thank my political team. Nathaniel Hurt, my campaign manager, the entire Team Miaris political team, Dave Rexroad and Gary Marks, who've been dear friends since college, Brad Todd, who's just been a fantastic advisor through the years. Thank you for believing in me. When a lot of people didn't believe that this race was even feasible to keep close, you all did. And you all were incredible friends through this process. Thank you for believing in me. I'm honored to have you as my teammates. And finally, to Virginia. I believe in Virginia. I believe in you. I've been so honored to serve in this role. So honored by every Virginian that stood with me, that would come up to me whenever I just run to the grocery store and say, I'm proud of you. I'm praying for you. It meant so much to me. I'm so humbled, Virginians, by your persistence, by your decency, by your goodness. It has truly been the honor of my life to be your Attorney General. Thank you. We'll see you in the future. God bless you.
All right, Attorney General Jason Miaris conceding tonight and wishing Jay Jones the best. The AP has called the race for Jay Jones, actually just a short time ago. And Miaris talking about this being the honor of his life to serve as Attorney General, and very proud of some of the accomplishments that he made, particularly Operation Ceasefire in fighting crime and fighting fentanyl.
Fighting the spread of fentanyl, talking about some of the accomplishments his office achieved during his time. And as we've seen with a lot of the other candidates that we've seen speak tonight, also his family, a major part of that speech. We've seen that from Spanberger all the way down the line now to Jason Miaris.
Yeah, saying he doesn't know what he's going to do next, but he said, we'll see you in the future. So we'll see what happens.
And with that election, with that concession speech, we now officially have, it ended up being a full Democratic ticket.
At the top of the ticket,
That's
the
right.
three major races, all Democrats, Spanberger, Hashmi, and Jay Jones winning. So obviously a message to Republicans and maybe to the Trump administration as well, because the Democrats tried to make this election a referendum on the Trump administration, and it looks like as of right now that worked.
Yeah.
So we'll see whether or not that kind of shapes what the messages will be heading into the midterms next year.
And we thought Attorney General might be closer. You know, we called that gubernatorial race at like 8:02 p.m. Now 10:13 p.m. And finally, we're officially able to tell you that Jay Jones has won the Attorney General office here in Virginia. So it was a bit closer than those other two races.
It was.
But ultimately, Jay Jones does
A lot
win,
closer.
And Jason Miaris with a speech there conceding to Jay Jones. Okay, we will be back right here on 13 News Now Plus after this break. A lot of local races still very tight here in Hampton Roads. Okay, now before we heard from Jason Miyares, we were actively hearing from Shane Fordham on the 89th District in Chesapeake and Suffolk. Let's get back out to Shane. Shane, what's the latest with your race?
Well, Connor, Janet, like I was saying before, this is really one of the most competitive races in this entire election. Both candidates have shared interests that voters tell me that they really resonate with and that they would really like to see come to fruition. Now, some voters off camera told me that this race specifically was really one of the hardest decisions of the night for them because of what both of these candidates stand for, because of what their priorities are, because of what their foundations are to their respective campaigns. Now, looking at this race for the House of Delegates 89th District, you have Democratic candidate Casey Carnegie and Republican candidate Mike Lamonia. Now, both candidates say they're committed to improving education, enhancing public safety, and lowering costs for families in the district. Now, voters I spoke to shared why it was important for them to vote, what issues mattered most to them, and how competitive they think this race will be.
I mean, if you don't vote, you ain't gonna get the person you like in there. And so then you're gonna be complaining about that other person. So hopefully you vote, you get the right person you wanted in there, and you can get things accomplished.
Safety is always going to be my first priority. I mean, of course, trying to reduce taxes in any way, shape, or form, we all need it right now. Anything just reducing costs right now, because I think inflation is kind of just choking everybody right now. But as long as they're one of their top, like maybe top three priorities is safety, then I would say I value them as someone who should be empowered, and I would vote for either or, really. I was expecting this race to be probably the closest out of all of them right now because, again, I really haven't seen anything from either side where it made me kind of squint my face. So I think both of them have, good foundations and represent good morals, so we should get a good win regardless of who wins.
Now, first, looking at Democratic candidate Casey Carnegie, she says her focus is building a community first economy by investing in small local businesses and expanding work development programs. And at a speaker series hosted by national journalist and commentator Roland Martin, which I attended myself yesterday on Monday, Carnegie also said if elected that she will focus on affordability. That includes raising minimum wage, lowering the cost of health care, and lowering the cost of child care. Now, as a former attorney, she says that she is more than prepared to carry out her vision for the district.
I think it's the way I know my community, the fact that I grew up here. I played softball with people that live here. My girls go to dance with people that live here. My dad's done their taxes. I mean, my law practice I opened here in 2012. The phrase that I had on my folders at the time was standing up for our community, because that's what I've always wanted to do. And so I just think the knowledge I have of this community, how much I know them and how much I know what this community needs, has set me apart from my opponent and is what is going to help us run this race. As an attorney, for the past 17 years, I've been an advocate. I've been a guardian ad litem for individuals with special abilities. I've been a substitute judge. And so I've sat through many different phases where I've had to listen, and listening is going to be what's key as a legislator, and letting my constituents know that I hear them and then I follow through with what they need.
Now, Republican candidate Mike Lamonia says he's also focused on affordability, but specifically by cutting car and grocery taxes. Now, Lamonia is centering his campaign on strengthening law enforcement and preserving rural land by limiting the growth of data centers. Lamonia says his prior experience as a member of the Chesapeake School Board is proof of his commitment to expanding education programs for the Chesapeake public schools, while his prior experience as an immigration and customs enforcement agent shows his willingness to provide law enforcement with more resources in order to increase public safety. Now, we did reach out to Lamonia's team for information on his whereabouts this evening, but we have not yet heard back. Now, according to the latest Wasm Center survey from CNU, Democrats currently hold an 11-point lead in the generic ballot for House of Delegate races, but that data also says 53% of voters plan to support the Democratic candidate in their district. Now, we know that the statewide races like the general's race, the governor's race, the lieutenant governor's race and the attorney general's race get a lot of attention. But one voter shared with me why this race specifically is important and what he hopes tonight's winner will do for the district once elected.
Yeah, I just like somebody to be a voice for, the people at the bottom looking up, just trying to make it out here because, it's getting real tight and we run out of money at the end of the day. Because this is the bottom, it's kind of like the paper towel analogy, when you dip your paper towel in the water, it seeps all the way to the top. So we got to start at the bottom and make it to the top. So it's very important.
Now, the energy here at Casey Carnegie's gathering is super high. Members of her team are telling us that she has won the race. Now, we have not received an official word on that, but that's what we are being told here. But voters today earlier told me that regardless of who they voted for, regardless of who wins, what mattered the most was the fact that they voted, the fact that they cast their ballot, and the fact that their voices were heard. Live in Chesapeake, Shane Fordham, 13 News Now.
All right, Shane, thank you so much. And we do have some of the numbers coming in from that race. And apparently Carnegie is at 54% and Lamonia is at 45.77%. So that is about a 9-point difference there. So she seems to have a pretty healthy lead. And again, right now, the House of Delegates, you have 48, 51 Democrats, 48 Republicans, and Democrats are hoping that they can flip that, or they can extend that lead. And so far, they may have a chance of doing that because that AC Cardoza race and the Virgil Thornton, that is like razor thin.
We talked about that one just a bit earlier.
AC Cardoza is a Republican, and he is slightly behind Virgil Thornton.
Yes.
And he's the incumbent in the race. So that's one of the races that they might be able to flip.
And that's the race that Jordy Clark was at earlier that we saw. And the race we just heard from Shane, Baxter Ennis, a Republican, was in that seat. He decided not to run for re-election. So if Casey Carnegie were to win that one, that would be a flip into Democratic control for that seat there. Now, we also have Layla Cox out at the 71st district here.
This is another close race. This is between Republican delegate Amanda Batten and Democratic challenger Jessica Anderson.
Okay, let's go live out to Williamsburg. Layla Cox has more. Layla.
Hey, good evening, Janet and Connor, and to everyone watching our special election coverage tonight. I'm in Williamsburg at the Strange Ways Brewing, where, if you can hear behind me, everyone's loud and proud. They're cheering for the Democratic nominees in the House of Delegate race in Virginia tonight. Earlier today, I spoke with Democratic candidate Jessica Anderson, who says she's been rooted in her grassroots campaign, not going around saying she's a career politician, but a people's person rooted in the average everyday experience. I'm just going to step aside so you can see the positivity and hope and optimism coming from everyone tonight here at Strange Ways Brewing. A little bit about Democratic candidate Anderson. In fact, right now, the AP poll says she's at a 51 to 48% margin, leading Anderson. And if you were listening in earlier, back in 2023, this race was just won by incumbent Batten by a 2% margin. So it seems to be kind of a similar thing we're seeing tonight, just with Anderson in favor. Just a few moments ago, she actually gave what seemed to be a victory speech, saying that if it wasn't for everyone that was along with her during these months of campaigning, she wouldn't have been where she is tonight. Now, in 2014, Anderson went through a divorce that brought hardships thousands in Virginia and millions across the nation are facing today, losing health care coverage and relying on Medicaid and SNAP benefits. Now, Anderson is running on a platform that she says aims to boost health care affordability and protect Medicaid. Education is also central to Anderson's platform. She told 13 News Now earlier today, if elected, her first piece of policy would be to expand early childhood education for ages 3 and 4, making it a part of the K-12 funding formula. And in a district with tourism-heavy economy, Anderson supports raising minimum wage to $15 statewide. She pledges to protect reproductive rights, support universal background checks, and stronger storage laws for firearms. But 2 years ago, when the Democratic candidate first ran for House seat, Anderson prioritized knocking on doors. This year, she says she's knocked on over 7,000 doors, and in campaign in general, they've knocked over 40,000 doors. She says she's become a hometown name, and if elected to be the 71st District House of Delegates representative, she says she remains committed to serving the everyday people here across Williamsburg, New Kent, and James City counties. For now, I'm live in Williamsburg. We'll hear from both candidates tonight once the final election results come in, but overall, a bunch of hope and optimism and celebration tonight as we're awaiting those final results. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that update. And then I want to mention that 86 House race again. That's the one that keeps going back and forth, AC Cardoza is now at 51% and Virgil Thornton at 48%. So it is flipped again.
Yeah, a flip from the last time. And Jordy Clark's still out there covering that race. It remains extremely close.
Very close.
We talk about close races. Layla Cox reporting on that Anderson-Batten race. That was a 667 vote margin in 2023 towards Batten.
Right.
So, you know, again, some of these races, it's less than 1,000 votes separating these candidates. Speaks to how important voter turnout is in these local elections as well.
Every vote counts. All right, before we wrap up our extended election coverage, let's get another check of Hampton Roads, how Hampton Roads voted with Dana Smith.
That's right, Connor, Janet. And with that, the big three statewide races across the Commonwealth have now been called. This is the big story of the night. Spanberger for governor, Hashmi for lieutenant governor, and Jones for attorney general. So let's take one final look at the big map. The blue is indicating support for Spanberger, the red for Earl Sears. And you can see Spanberger has the advantage. She has been called as the winner of this race. Let's take a look at how we voted here in Hampton Roads. This is the eastern cities reporting right now. Virginia Beach going for Spanberger right now, 47 only for Earl Sears. Chesapeake, Spanberger, 56, 43 for Earl Sears. Of course, as we go up to Norfolk and in Portsmouth, we're also seeing that support for Spanberger. If we could take a look at the lieutenant governor race as well, we're seeing a lot of support for Hashmi. Again, she has been called the winner of this race. Again, as we look at the blue dots, that is showing support for Hashmi. The red is showing support for Reed. The only area where Reed is winning is in Virginia Beach, 50 to 49, but that really makes no difference. Hashmi is the winner of this race, even though Virginia Beach leaned red in this race. As you look next door, as we go to Chesapeake, 53 Ghazala Hashmi, 46 John Reed. Norfolk and Portsmouth also going for Ghazala Hashmi. We also have the results from the attorney general race. That was an interesting race because of the controversy leading into this with those leaked text messages from Jay Jones. And this is the closest of the big three races where Democrats won. This is the tightest race. But again, the blue indicating support for Jones. He pulled it off in the end. Looking at how we voted in our area, Virginia Beach went red. Jason Miyares, 52 to 47 for Jay Jones. Again, this is the closest race for the Democrats. Jones pulled it off. He is the projected winner, but this was a close one. In all the other areas, you see Chesapeake, Jones pulled it off 52 to 47. Again, that support in Norfolk. Around the other areas, you do see some tighter ones with Jason Miyares at 61 to 38 in Isle of Wight. But again, does not matter. Jones pulled it off in the end. This is the final results as these votes come in, as we still collect them late into the night. But 99% in Isle of Wight. Jones, Hashmi, Spanberger, those are the projected winners. Back to you guys.
All right, Dana, thanks so much. And one thing Dana pointed out there that you see Virginia Beach, for the votes that we have counted so far, goes Spanberger, Reed, Miyares. So a split ticket there in the most populous city in Hampton Roads.
Right, yeah.
But ultimately.
Well, Miyares is from Virginia Beach.
Right.
Yeah, he was a delegate out of Virginia Beach. So and both candidates in the attorney general's race from Hampton Roads, Jay Jones being from Norfolk.
Hampton Roads, always impactful and well represented on those two tickets. And what a night, Janet. Great job by you. You have been up here for 2.5 hours now. Yes. Excellent job. And thanks, everybody, so much for joining us on this election night.
No, absolutely. It's been exciting. So we'll have to see what happens. Some races still a little bit too close to call, and we'll certainly continue to follow those and find out what the final numbers are, hopefully sometime tomorrow or through the night.